Well, aloha, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to PWT Talks NXT. I'm your host. I'm Kelly Wells. I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. I missed you guys in the chat and such. And I haven't talked to Nate for like 3 weeks, except for in the last 30 seconds, because he showed up basically as a Deus Ex Machina to get the show started. There he is. He has not seen tonight's show and just popped in there to give it a wordless mugging spot. He helped us get the show started. I was gonna flounder, and um, it's because I didn't remember how to do one aspect of starting the show. Let's not uh, let's not talk about that misspeak I just had. Okay, so Nate's not really here. Nate and I will talk next week. I'm here with a very good friend of the podcast, Mr. Kevin Cattani, PhD. Say hey.
Hey there, guys. Very excited to be here. Kelly, it's a pleasure to chat with you. And Nate, thanks for helping getting us going here. Let's talk NXT.
Ryan Solorio in the chat is threatening to derail the entire show by bringing up Horseshoe, one of my very guilty pleasures to talk about. The future Luther Reigns Horseshoe. You gotta he must be spoken about. To those of you who have not listened to the Torch Talk with Horseshoe, you got to do it. Okay, so
Also, Kelly, 2 weeks ago when Nate and I did the show, there were several calls in the chat for you to bring back jars of mayonnaise. So if you have not done that in a while, we would love for you to indulge us with some jar of mayonnaise
I
talk.
can maybe do that. That was a weird one that came up back when Justin James was on the show. If any of you were old enough to have been listening when Justin James was here, I said something referring to the guys, and Justin said, I thought for some reason you were going to call us jars of mayonnaise, which is something only his brain would. Okay, my brain would do that too, but he was the one on that particular day. So for a while, I called you guys jars of mayonnaise. But there is only one of you here, so the singular jar. Yeah, we're going to talk Stephanie Vicaire because that's basically all I want to do these days anyway. This show did center around her, a hype piece at the beginning of the show beginning with Stephanie in silhouette and laying out the fact that she's going to defend both championships. I thought it was going to be in back-to-back matches. I knew that the main championship was first because the one that's more likely for her to lose is the North American. Also, she was facing a nasty mean heel for the North American who you knew was going to soften her up first. So an auspicious match order on the surface, but this is the same thing they did with Seth Rollins beating Sting and then losing to John Cena. He lost the secondary championship in the second match because they wanted to have him win, then lose, but they didn't want him to lose the main championship. So we would have thought, I think, that she would lose this one to Fallon, but man, commentary just laid it on way too thick. 10:05, Stephanie Vicaire beats Fallon Henley in the main event despite overwhelming cheating from the ladies. 9:25, she beats Jada Parker in a match with no cheating. Many women involved tonight. We can kind of talk about that, talk about them, talk about Jada, talk about all things Stephanie Vicaire.
Well, listen, I think they have chosen a fabulous person to strap the rocket to. Um, I think uh, having her bookend the show was a really cool touch for her. I think it shows her ability to sort of carry the load that way. So that was kind of exciting. And yeah, I think for all the criticism of the way in which the women handled themselves at the end of the show, not the two main eventers, but all the other women, I think it's really good to show that these women are all wanting gold and not to carry on petty side feuds and this and that. Like, I think that's a good sign that even though maybe we're not going about it the right way, I think it's a very encouraging sign that they are all wanting to be a part of this mix. Um, and certainly it gives Ava things to do and gives her reasons to be on our television, which I'm sure many of us are happy about. Um, but but yeah, I thought it was a solid match. I think it was good to see Stephanie overcome all the cheating. I think I was kind of building myself up for her to lose this because again, you kind of don't need her to have it, but I think she looks really good with two belts, and I think they probably will ride the wave at this point now until Stand and Deliver. Um, and there's a lot of merch to be sold. I saw several signs in the front row that said "Doble Campeona," and I think they can probably take that and run with it too on a T-shirt. So yeah, I'm not at all upset. I think the match went well, and I think Fallon is looking a lot better in the ring, which I think is good news for her too. So I liked it, and I like where the women's division is going.
Yeah, my only issue with all of this is because there are nitpicks in the chat right now about match order. Although this match order was the only way to make it seem like she was going to lose either of these championships, um, and to do what they wanted to do with Fallon. And yes, I've been singing Fallon's praises for a while now. I think she really put it together when she turned heel, slowed things down, and works the way she does. I really think she is in as close to her final form as she can be, and she's in that weird position where she's getting a lot of TV time, but man, those three almost never win.
No.
So that's too bad, but it is a stacked division right now. It's funny at a time that it's probably never been a deeper division, and they have two championships, and both of them are held by the same person. So yes, the one thing that did get to me was that the announcers just laid it on. They just laid it on so thick, and to the point where we knew that this was going to almost certainly be a second retention, even though on the face of it, this seems like where they're going to have those titles split up. Maybe they still do it in this way, or maybe she ends up letting go of that one, saying, "I need to focus on the world championship because this is too much." Although she's a baby face, so you don't really want her to do it that way. You got to do it in a creative way. So I don't know. Yeah, good chat about a lot of this. Steve Repture asking, do we read much into Julia showing up on the coconut loop over the weekend? I don't know. I don't know what to think of what the next steps are with Julia. Or to I don't know whether to expect her on this show again. And maybe she's doing these NXT shows to get reps. But is she going to be on this show again, or is she not? Sean Plichta taking issue with Jordan getting up on the apron just because she's a baby face, and he thought maybe she shouldn't do that. I think that's kind of a weird nebulous area. I think that maybe she got attacked by Jada last week, so I understand why she would be angry. But it struck me too that a babyface was doing that, so that did occur to me. And then Sean also asked, "Is Parker officially a heel?" Hey man, if you can figure that out, go ahead and let me know, because
That's
I
the
write
$1,000,000
these.
question.
When I write the match explanations with with babyface and heel, I always list the babyface first and the heel second. And when Jada's in there, I just have to take my cue from who she's wrestling, because otherwise I wouldn't know where to put her. We have a paid comment from Andraves Gaming. Sorry, I've not seen your name before. Thank you for the support. Saying Julia is hurt, I thought. Yes, and I think we all did. So I don't know what these particular matches are that she's working. I don't know if they're just doing things very, very lightly. Her working the coconut loop was news to me in the chat. So I actually haven't even looked into that. So I don't know if she showed up in what capacity. but yeah, it's I hope that this is a very minor thing. But I don't know. I don't know to what degree she is back, if she's indeed back. So that was the women's championships. We also got the backstage scenes with all the women, those named and those unnamed, those who have been pushed before and have been kind of had to take a back seat and things like that and wait until there's more of a seat at the table. But yeah, there's really seeing them all sit there. It really drove home just how deep this division is, because some really talented women are just not getting a lot of TV time. So, I mean, this was the first time Nikita Lyons was on in like a month and a half. And those who have listened to me know
And
that
that's enough.
I'm
That's
not
enough.
complaining. Like, this is
No.
as much as we ever need to see her, and not wrestling is best case scenario. But at any rate, she was sitting in the front and just rolling her eyes at things. Steve Repsher gives me a little more context. Says Julia didn't wrestle, got in Cora's business, and made the title belt gesture. Okay, so there we go. There's your answer. All right. So, anything more on the women's main event scene? Otherwise, we'll keep it rolling with Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan versus Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson.
Let's keep it rolling.
All right, this one only went 358. Every other match went over 8.5 minutes. This was your quickie of the week. Lash and Jakara, who seem like they've dipped their feet into the main roster. They had to job in the quickie this week, and it's only because Paxley and Dolan have a match with the TNA Tag Team Champions. Again, our announcers were ever so cheeky about how we recognize Ash by Elegance, who of course is formerly known as Dana Brooke, and her tag team partner Heather. From what they said, I think this is a non-title match. I don't know why, but this one is a non-title. So they had to have Paxley and Dolan win, because you can't lose when you're heading into a match with the champions. But Legend and Jackson just, I don't know. It seemed like they were called up, and now it seems like they weren't. So nothing to write home about, but I will say the cemetery driver is a really cool finisher. Kevin.
Yeah, I think for what Lash and Jakara have been building lately, if you needed to have a sub 5 minute match to get Gigi and Tatum on TV, there's a lot of other women's tag teams that you could have jobbed out there. So I guess I don't know if only for the credibility boost, because the Metaphor women are more of a household name now. But even still, I think that there was, we saw at the end any number of women they could have thrown out there to have a match. Um, I loved the finisher, and I think that was the sharpest part of the whole match. And I hate to be critical of botches and bad timing and just sort of a lack of sort of ring awareness, but the two of them, Gigi and Tatum, just in that whole sort of middle third of the match, just didn't look like they were on the same page, and it was frustrating because I know that they belong, they're talented women, but they also have not really been on TV a whole lot lately, and I don't know if they're doing the coconut loop or not, but it was a pretty soppy mid game that ended with a really cool finishing maneuver. And I think if they can tighten up, the stuff that happened in the middle, they've got a future in front of them. I think certainly Gigi's trying hard to improve. I think as I watch Gigi and I watch JC post Fatal Attraction, it's really kind of been a tale of two cities in a lot of ways. And so I keep hoping that each of their individual shticks will catch on. Um, And I think unfortunately for Tatum, she's still trying to be three characters in one, and I don't really know which one is the one that needs to work. Um, so good win for them as far as getting some momentum, but I think you could have jobbed out lots of other women if we just needed to get them a win heading into that match.
So I'm not sure if Lexus King has ever been in the longest match of the week, but this week he was. 10 minutes and 40 seconds, your crossover match. Lexus King victorious over Javon Evans. He got bouncy until he was bounced off the ground by Obafemi. Count out victory for Lexus King, which a heel will take anytime Obafemi shows up and attacks Javon Evans in retaliation, as they're kind of working towards the Evans Femi Trick Williams thing, where Dark State is also very clearly involved in some way. And this was a lot of moving parts. This is weird because everything points to me that Trick Williams is involved with Dark State, but I don't think they should do that. He's just way too popular, and I think they're really playing with fire. I know it's only NXT, but taking this organic level of popularity with this guy, I don't know. Ryan Florio asked me, "Do you think Trick Williams is going to be the leader of Dark State?" I think so. I do. I don't think they should do it, but if that's not what they're doing, then some of the stuff they're saying doesn't make sense, because we got the selfie video by Dark State and they said, "We show up and we cause chaos." And I'm like, you didn't do anything. You just stood there. So the only way that they showed up and made an impact is if somebody actually did get involved. And then they added fuel to that fire with the unseen interviewer getting a word with him. And he said, "Dark State isn't my business." Yeah, they also were being asked about Oba. Is he a face or a heel? I don't think it matters. He's just the dude. He's just that guy. They lean him whichever way they need, whatever needs to fit the story, which is a weird thing out of your main eventer, out of your centerpiece guy. But yeah, a good fella also adds, Dark State seemed to have some charismatic personalities. Not sure Trick is needed. Yeah, I think that there's a start with these guys. I don't know all of their names yet, but the one whose initials I'm almost sure are SS is pretty good on the mic, and I haven't seen his name in a while. I want to say Shadur Sanders, but that's a football player. But it's in.
Well, one of the guys is one of the LFG guys.
Yeah.
And then the former Bookworm turned Dark State member,
Dion, who's
yeah,
essentially our visual leader, our
the de facto leader, yeah,
of this group, but they haven't really shown that. So yeah. I don't know. So I don't know what Dark State is doing with this unless they have a representative in the match. I don't think it should be Javon. I don't think that Trick should turn heel. And Obafemi definitely doesn't need to be part of a group, and that wouldn't make sense for him at all. So what the hell is any of it if it's not Trick? As for the match, Sean took a couple shots at Lexus King here in the chat, but I don't know. I think Lexus is getting to be kind of okay. I mean, he's been in a few pretty good matches in a row, and that doesn't happen if you're just a plank of wood out there. He's no dynamo. He's never going to be his father in that ring, his pre-injury father. But I mean, he's gotten to the point where he can be part of a really good match, even if he's not the one carrying the heavy part of the load, and that's fine. He can bring some value there. Obviously, Javon Evans can create movement around anybody of any speed or any skill level. Um, but his stuff is all very high risk, so you need to be able to trust that other person to be able to keep Evans safe in there. By the way, what was with the poorly positioned Tope Suicidus tonight? Both of them, the
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
um, just kind of sailed over him. Sean, thanks for the support again on this tweet. What am I talking about? On this comment, Javon made that match what it was. Sure. And yes, I mean, Javon's awesome. He's awesome. But it seems like it's not a coincidence that we've had like a few matches in a row where where Lexus King was in a good match. Like he hasn't been in a bad match for a while, and it used to be that I was really hurting whenever he was on screen. Now I save that just for Sean Spears, who just sucks all of my life force out whenever he's in there. So yeah, it was yeah, and then Sean just adds maybe, but it's not working with him, and it feels weird having him hold any kind of title. LOL. I mean, the crowd gave this an NXT chant and a "This is awesome" chant. I think it is working with him, even though it's not working on everybody. And he said it feels weird having him hold any kind of title. That part I still kind of feel you on. It does feel weird, but I like what they're doing with him. They had a title that was really interesting, and they made him take it. And like the true heel he is, he made it just like everything else. He made it boring. He took the fun of that championship out, which to me is just good old school heel stuff. Yeah, Brock Benningfield with more praise for Javon Evans. Evans is so good and so young. I can only imagine he'll get even better. Yeah, that's a scary thought. As good as he is, he won't always. And like the dude can't even drink yet, so this feels weird to talk about. But he won't always be able to do the things he's doing in the ring. So the earlier he can really get like a great ground game, and he's on his way there too, by the way. But the earlier he can get that part of a game in, and then uh, slightly pulling back in other ways. Um, I think that he'll be well served to extend his career, because he's out there wrestling like a guy who's going to be a champion by 22 and retired by 27. So hopefully that's not true.
Yeah, yeah.
I really like Javon, and I really like what he can do on the mic, regardless of how much edge he's showing, because the dude can show edge, and I like how he can just turn it from bouncy to angry in like 1 second. I just really dig him. So yeah, on the crossover match, I know you've been jumping in, but anything further you got to say about this one?
Well, I do want to back up just a little bit. I think Goodfella pointed out, and I did recognize at the last second, that sexy BJ Ray was one of those 4 Dark State guys. And I thought that was him too, but I don't remember him being a part of the original group. So I don't know if they've recently added him, or I just haven't paid that close attention. But I did recognize his frosted tips over top his little headpiece there. No, I thought this was good. I think Lexus King is growing on me too. I think he certainly is showing himself to be someone who is not great at any one thing, but is good at a lot of things, if that makes sense. Like I think certainly he's being trusted with a lot of different talent and a lot of different styles, and he's acquitting himself well in terms of being in a match, keeping the match going. I'm not saying he's calling it, but he certainly is. Sean, I know, buddy, I know. But I think that he's getting to just kind of be a solid dude, and I think I would not put the North American or the world title on him, but I do think that this this Heritage Cup is sort of trinkety enough that he can carry it as a prop. He can flaunt it as much as he needs to. If he's just keeping it warm for when Noam Dar comes back, that's fine too. Um, and then also, we haven't seen Charlie Dempsey in a while, and so I don't know if he's on a Japanese loop or something like that. But he's another one of those guys that seems to always be in contention for that thing, kind of like how R-Truth and there was a couple other guys that were just always holding the 24/7 title. Like this has kind of been a three-person rotating championship, good, bad, or otherwise. Um, so if nothing else, I think Lexus gives us a chance to see what fun fake beard drawings they can do on him, and that's always fun. Um, but yeah, I thought it did just fine. And certainly, if nothing else, it was a vehicle to further the storyline between Oba and Javon and Trick. And then just to sort of add my 2 cents um, to the dark state, I also hope that the Trick is not a part of this. We saw how awfully awful Retribution flopped on the main roster, and we already sort of heard some comparisons to this um, early in their showing up. And so I think the last thing we need is sort of the unmasking, if you will, of Trick sort of being the one pulling the strings, because he doesn't need it and they don't really need him. Let them breathe and just kind of see what they can be. So
I don't know what I want at this point, because if Trick's not part of it, then it's bad storytelling. And if he is part of it, it's bad booking. Sigh. Okay, Sean, thanks again for supporting us in the chat. Love what Ethan Page is doing. Should Chase have gotten that much offense? I like Andre, but still. No, he should not have gotten this much offense. This was ridiculous. Page is like a recent former champion, and Chase, we know he can work, but he's doing a sad sack gimmick. So giving him this much offense, I mean, this match went 1 second short of 10 minutes long. This version of Andre Chase should be getting flattened in 3-4 minutes by anybody of any level on the card. I mean, by all means, give him 10 minutes with like a more mid-card guy. I don't know, 10 minutes with Lexus King, Andre Chase versus Lexus King. Sean would be very happy, I'm sure. But Ethan Page, no, he really should have flattened him. So this match was good. I just don't think it should have been.
right.
Yeah, that was way too much offense for Andre with what he's doing. And of course he does lose in the end. And we got Cale Dixon and Uriah Connors hanging out. I'm remembering their names without looking at my paper now. So mark it down. This was the week I finally had no trouble remembering the names of those two guys.
You can't think of Dark State, but you remember these two guys. That a boy.
Yep. I know not Shador Sanders. Yeah, sorry. Sorry to the guy who I like and can't think of the name of. So Page over Chase, and I don't know. This story seems like tailor-made to have Duke Hudson show up and defend the honor of Chase U, but Duke Hudson was like let go, like he's not in the company anymore. So it's very weird that we're doing this Chase U storyline post Chase U with Duke not in the company, Bodie Hayward, of course, long gone. There's a name that has never left me for some reason, and Thea Hale not on TV at all. So very weird that they're continuing to frame this and how they are, but I don't know how you can even have Andre Chase exist on the show without Chase U. In the recap, I talked about how I thought it was weird that Hudson was let go and Chase was retained, not because you got to do one or the other, but because I thought it was weird that it wasn't the same fate for both, both being retained or both being let go. I just feel like they're running uphill with Andre Chase's character. I have no idea where this can head, and hopefully there's a plan, because on the face of it, it seems really weird. Sean says Chase U was fun, but wasn't for the main roster. Yeah, I felt the same. Like you'd either have to bring them all up at once or not bring them up at all. And I don't know that taking that act from city to city would have been sustainable. I think this got over on its dopey charm in front of this same 200 people every single week. I feel very much the same. So go ahead and comment on Chase and Paige.
Yeah, I am loving Ethan Page. I'm also really loving all the interplay between all the recent former AEW guys, sort of exchanging glances and throwing shade on each other. Um, and I know Sean mentioned earlier enough triple threats, so I am not calling for a triple threat. But I do like that they're having, the three most recent AEW comeovers really sort of mix it up with each other in various ways. And I think as each of them is sort of gaining their own traction and showing what they're about, I think it could be sort of good thing in the long run. As it relates to Chase, he's very much giving off the sad Baron Corbin vibe. And I wonder if they're trying to redo that storyline, um, because I don't know, because it's low hanging fruit, and then Chase is in a position where he's kind of lost everything. But um, I do think that maybe a bit more backstory or vignette or interview could help us understand where sad Chase is coming from right now. But it does very much have that feel of sad Baron Corbin there when he was letting the stubble grow and all that. Um, and yeah, I think he got in a lot of offense too. But I think, I think for as long as Chase has been in, Andre Chase has been in matches where things have gone long. But I think if you're trying to sort of build him as this Eeyore type character who will have some sort of redemption arc down the way,
Oh my. Did you guys lose Kevin too? Or did you lose me? Okay. I will try to get Kevin back. Sorry, I thought I thought that he was the one. I thought that I was the one we lost because I heard him talking and I saw you guys talking. Okay, that is a bummer, but hopefully we can get him back. He does have the links. Hopefully he can pop back on. Oh, I believe we do have him back.
yeah, I have no idea what just happened. I was literally in the middle of my sentence and it just booted me.
Yeah, that was bizarre. I thought it booted me, so I just like refreshed my browser, and then they didn't have any. So Kevin,
Well,
sure.
I'm back. Hello. No, just to wrap up, I would like to see. I would like to give Andre a little bit of room to breathe and see if they can't flesh out Eeyore in the living flesh here. And I think Ethan Page could. I saw several people in the comments. I think he very well could be a Raw after Mania call up. I think that he very much could be there and ready for that. Or they could have him carry some more of the upper main event load, kind of away from Obafemi right now. So either way, I think they're in a good spot with him. And if they needed to get Chase some TV time for this, so much the better.
Okay, there was one other match on this thing: Hank and Tank versus Tyreek Igwe and Tyson DuPont. This was 8 minutes and 39 seconds of chaos. Not so much a match as just four guys doing stuff.
Say it. You know you want to say it. Say it.
Which thing do I want to say? Slapping
Yes, the big
meat
meaty men slapping
and
meat. Come
slapping meat. It
on.
was that, but it wasn't satisfying meat slapping. I'm
No.
hoping that's the only time I ever say that sentence, but no promises. Yeah, this particular one was, I don't know. It was more tornado match than anything. Would have liked some more strong style and not exactly what this was. It just it came off as four green dudes fighting each other, and they both teams have done considerably better stuff than this match. For whatever reason, this one didn't come together for me. But they wanted Igwe and DuPont to get a win as they got their thing going on with Wesley. Steve Repsher says Torch After Dark. Yeah, I'm working a little blue tonight. I'm sorry. And and Hank and Tank, they're, I don't know. I like when they're working against more methodical teams, so they can really make things exciting by speeding it up. Um, but that's just not what they did here. So anything further on this match at 8:39, it was the second shortest match of the night.
Well, yeah, I think it was the chaos you described. And I guess for me, my theme in commentary is callbacks to old gimmicks. And I don't know why, and I may well be the only one, but Hank and Tank are really sort of giving me, and I don't want to say, please understand the spirit of what I'm saying, not the words I'm using, but like great value, heavy machinery, but like not quite. But like there is sort of that vibe where they're just two blue collar guys that just want to come out and beat people up. They sort of have that, again, sort of work job site vibe in their gear and all that. But I think they work really well together. And I think that it's very hard to say that they're not having fun with each other when they're out there. Yeah, and I thought that match went fine. I think you've got to get Wes Lee's group a little bit of work and a little bit of credibility, especially if you're trying to build Wes as a stable leader. And so, again, I think Hank and Tank are over enough with that Orlando crowd that they can take some losses like this and still be cheered the next night. And I think, yeah, as the Wes Lee group here continues to try to find its footing, I think it's good for the tag team division. I think um, the more cohesive groups you have, the more serious that division will be taken. So I think, yeah, that it was an opening match, but I think it was a good enough one to sort of start the show off with, and I'm interested to see, especially where Wes's group goes. But I love that Hank and Tank are continuing to just be who they are, and the crowd loves them for it. So
Yeah, I think the crowd understands that these guys are going to be lovable losers, and that's fine. You can be that and be employed for a long time. Sean asked me what I was drinking. Would you believe orange juice or Theraflu if that's what I told you? Sure, it's one of those. Okay, so what else do we have? We're talking tag teams. Axiom and Nathan Fraser. These guys just can't get along, Kevin. They were interviewed by Sarah Schreiber, got in each other's faces right away. Axiom did the tour of Spain, which was a really cool thing to do for him. They didn't have to do this one night call up for him, but he went there and he had a match with Gunther, who he's had matches with because as a kid out of the mask, they would have crossed paths before. So um yeah, they had a little bit of a spat, a verbal spat, as they always do, and I guess this is again just this is who they are. And then they saw Obafemi being pissed off, and that was that. Anything on Axiom and Fraser, and they're on let's call it a bad romance. Let's call it that.
Yes, I think a bad romance is a good title for it. Yeah, they are just so darn talented in the ring, and they seem to work really, really well together. And I just like I'm not advocating for a breakup, but I don't understand. Like they're investing so much time and energy into showing them being this sort of dysfunctional, functional group, and I don't know if it's serving them well right now. Like they seem to be in on it, but like I just don't know, especially if they're sort of your flag bearers for the tag team division and they're having matches with the Hardys and they're going to have matches with other folks in the coming weeks and months. I feel like a more stable platform would be better for them because I think it is becoming sort of a maybe not a running joke, but let's say a running joke for lack of a better term of is this going to be the week they break up? And I feel like several times over the history of this show, Kelly, if it was whether it was Justin and Tom and Harley or you and Nate and Bruce or whoever, there's been several of these tag teams where they've just sort of played this game and it's like, all right, I get it, but at what point are you going to start losing people because they just want to see them wrestle and they're not really invested in the story anymore? And I think that's a fine line that they are, if they aren't on it already, they're pretty close to it. And I don't know if you want to play with that fire with as talented as they are. Um, so yeah, and then it was good. I think I saw. Let's see. I want to scroll back here a little bit. It may have been Ryan who talked about the Motor City Machine Guns kind of showing up to say hi. Um, also in that general segment. And I don't really know what that means. Maybe they're just down to say hi and give a boost. But um, so I thought I'd bring them up because I wasn't sure if you were going to or not. So.
I'm not sure if I was or not either. Brock Benningfield asks, the question is, who can beat Fraxium? That's that. I don't know. Who's on the level right now? Here's the thing. Here's my two favorite tag teams in NXT right now. And I'm including everybody. My favorite two tag teams are Inoue and Blade and Tavian Heights and Miles Bourne. Those are actually my two. No, God, Briggs and Inamura. Sorry. I'm not forgetting I forgot about them. Now, they've burned all these matches already. But yes, I would say if I had to guess who it was going to be out of all these teams right now, I would still say it's going to be Briggs and Inamura eventually, if it's a team that is still there. I like the guys that are with Jada.
Out the mud.
I can't remember their names at the beginning. Bronco Nima and Lucian Price.
Lucian
God,
Price, yeah.
They haven't wrestled in so long. I can't remember their names, but yeah, there's them too. So Ryan Solorio says, I think Hardy's at Stand and Deliver. We still haven't had a TNA person win a championship here. The Hardys are who they could do the Hardys and nobody would think like a TNA team beat these guys. They would think, oh my God, the Hardy Boys are NXT champions. I've got to watch this. Ryan Solorio asks, are Nima and Price still with Jada? I don't know. There's sometimes they're there to support her during a match. Sometimes they go to the ramp. Sometimes on the screen it says with Bronco Nima and Lucian Price, and they're not there. So I don't know. I'm not sure they know from week to week what they're going to do with those guys. But yeah, these guys are, the tag team division is a little like the women's division. It's not, as universally talented up and down, but there are a lot of people sitting on the sidelines just because there are so many. So I don't know. Nemo and Price are pretty green. That is what Sean said, and that's true of them. It's true of a lot of teams, but they have raw power that should not be ignored, and hopefully they're working on that. But I don't know. Ricky Saints sat in on commentary. Somebody said he took a shot at Cope, but I was busy writing the match, and sometimes whenever they have a wrestler sit in on commentary, I miss like everything they say. So I don't know what Ricky was saying or if it was worth me having caught more of it. And also Tony D and Fredo Corleone had a scene in the restaurant. Fredo leaning in, and you just know. And how does he not know Fredo's the one who gets the bullet at the end? That's how this works. Stacks, what are you thinking? So yeah, anything on that, or anything else in the chat that I may have missed, because the chat's pretty lively and I'm
The
not
chat
getting
is
going.
very lively. I think. Listen, get some cheap heat here. I think we've got the best chat of the NXT or of the PWTorch lineup. Let me just say that. Um, I think. Well, and also to your credit, at least one double box break, at least on Hulu, happened during Saints on commentary. So part of it you wouldn't have been able to hear anyway because the commercial was playing on the split screen. Um, but yeah, I'm very excited to see him start getting some momentum going. I think someone said, I remember who it was, that they hope that he beats Sean Spears for the title. I think, yeah, let's put a title on him and let him start running with it. I think that would be a good move. Um, as far as the D'Angelo family, it's like they're cosplaying mobsters but don't know any of the history or backstory of mobsters. Um, and it's kind of like everybody else knows what's going to happen but them, and so they're just not in on their own joke. So I don't know. I know I've expressed not displeasure in the D'Angelo family, but like I just think it's a pooper get off the pot sort of thing, and I just don't. I think they're treading water in all the wrong ways, because wasn't it Stacks that turned D'Angelo over the first time they did all of this, and then they hugged and made up, and now they're sort of back in the same position again. And it's like, how many times do you let the cycle repeat itself before you just get rid of the problem? Um, so again, we'll see. They like that as their sort of cinematic segment each week when they're not actually wrestling. Whatever. It doesn't have to be for me. It can be for others who are into it. Um, but all in all, yeah, I want to see them put a rocket on Ricky Saints. I want to see him do well, if for no other reason than just like Ethan Page. I think that coming from a bloated roster where they didn't really get a lot of time to shine, we're starting to see what these guys are really capable of. So I'm hoping that is the case for Saints as well. And if that means getting a title on him right away and letting him go, let's go.
When the D'Angelo family has their scenes, I kind of die a little.
Does the thespian in you just sort of want to not be
you
a
know what?
thespian?
Tony is not a bad performer, like, at all, and Adriana's like surprisingly good on the mic, and I don't know why it should be surprising. Like, I didn't know her before she was a wrestler, but she's like, by wrestling standards, she's really quite natural on the mic, and natural is not the way that most wrestlers come across when they're on the mic. It's not that, it's just the silliness of the whole thing. Although, if they go full silly, if Stacks leaves Tony and then he does a scene where he goes to the river and pulls two dimes out and is like, we're back.
The redemption story.
All would be forgiven, because I was like, they went full silly, and that's what I
Or
needed if they were going to do silly at all.
could they go even fuller silly and do, because I know they got rid of two dimes because of like real life boneheadedness outside of the company. But could they do like fake Diesel, fake Razor, fake two dimes, and bring a guy back and everybody treat him like he's the real two dimes, but we're all like, that's not the guy. Kind of like fake
And
Diesel and fake Razor.
one guy goes, more like 15 cents, and they're like, shut up, man, shut up.
Or like when in the office when the Asian guy comes on as Jim and everyone's
Yes.
like, "Oh, hey Jim," and Dwight's like, "That's not Jim." Like, yeah, it is. Like, do that. I think that'd be, if you're gonna go all the way that way.
Yep. We're working blue, we're working silly, we're all over the place tonight, and And I wish we had more to talk about because I'm having a blast, but we're kind of at the end here. Yeah, we got our thing with Sean Spears and Ricky Saints. Oh, why does that have to be what Ricky Saints is doing? But if we needed to give Spears that championship to get to Ricky, then whatever. Ryan Slorio does us a favor, says Saints said something about not being the first bug-eyed Canadian getting in my business. And you know what? I did hear that line at the time, and it was in one ear and out the other. I didn't even think of what he was talking about. But bug-eyed Canadian, yeah, that'll be Cope. He looks like what he looks like. So,
Now, Kelly, let me ask you a question. As I don't have the benefit of writing my weekly email because I'm sitting right here with you,
I should probably see if we got any emails while you're doing that. Yeah,
that's fair. And chat, obviously, feel free to chime in as well. But obviously, Spears has a group. Do you think they're going to play Saints as the solo guy who can fight off the group, or are we going to see either new people or established people sort of come out and help him, or are they not ready to go that way yet?
I wouldn't be surprised if they had people that hung out for the length of a feud, but I don't think that Saints is a. I don't think he should be a faction guy. Certainly not yet. I think you try him out as a solo first, and then if you feel like he needs a handcuff, you do it. But I don't think you should take his charisma and kind of bottle it up and let it be fighting with the charisma of the rest of the group. If that's not a stupid enough way to say that, I really think that Ricky should just be a solo act. So CJ says, Kelly, I hope we were cool, or did I bug you the other day on Blue Sky? Oh God, no. I'm on and off. I'm on and off social like all the time. Yeah, totally fine. You weren't bugging. Like, I will talk wrestling basically anytime. I was at work while I was doing it and thought, maybe I should work. And so I did. And so I didn't go back to it, but we were talking Bailey, because that is
that is CJ's thing. That is CJ's thing. Yes.
Of CJ. So, we were talking Bailey a little bit, and what I thought that she might be doing a few weeks from now, come Mania time. And I think maybe we've got some idea now. But no, that's not a bother. If I drop out and I go silent for a while, I'm not a ghoster. I literally am just like, I'll ignore social media for a while, just because I do sometimes. So no issue there. Everybody here is cool as far as I'm concerned. So I think that's it. Unless you got anything else. I don't have any emails because I don't have a Kevin Cattani email to open. And Nate didn't see the show, or else he would have maybe emailed us.
Well, listen, also, I just want to look at this chat here. Brock, do not put that energy into the world right now. We don't need a crossover of a rogue faction and an Italian mob here. We're not trying to make the next, what was the parody of the Scream movies with the Wayans brothers. We don't need that kind of crossover going right now.
Yeah, Brock asking if Stax is the leader of well, he said Deep State, but it's Dark State. It is tempting to say Deep State because that's like a saying that's way out there. We got Dark Web and we got Deep State, and they're like, let's mash them together. It's actually kind of a Vince thing to do. But he was the one who did it. And Ryan says horseshoe again. So here at the end of the chat, I am very happy because I am thinking a horseshoe, doing the horseshoe move. All right. And my muscles, like slightly smaller than Reigns's, I guess. But I'm an older dude. I'm not I'm not the powerhouse I clearly was in my youth. I am Kelly Wells. You can find me on Blue Sky at other Kelly Wells. And yeah, I'm hanging out with Kevin. Kevin, who are you?
Kevin Cattani. You can find me on the Twitter and the Blue Sky at KP Cattani. I'm trying to keep a consistent profile that way. Come talk to me. Let's talk wrestling. Let's talk whatever you guys want. And Kelly, thank you for including me. It's always a pleasure to be on with you, and I'm looking forward to the next time.
Love having you, and I love this chat. It is
The best
chat
the
on
best.
this site.
Yes.
Thanks, guys, for that. All right. We'll see you in 7.